Okay.
So the way that we view the world is every VNF needs two things. Number one, it needs something to run on. Now, whether that's a COTS server or, if you're a carrier, a large service provider, you need a carrier grade server. We offer that. You can get a commercial off-the-shelf server from wherever you get that. That's fine. But every other VNF, in order to provide a service and not operate in and of itself, needs orchestration. And so that's where we've spent a lot of our time and effort is in the service orchestration business and understanding what it takes to bring a full service chain, breathe life into the VNFs, put that service chain together, deploy it, manage it. And there's two ways to go about it. You can go into every point product on the VNF, CLIN, or whatever the interface is, or products such as our Ensemble Service Orchestrator that can give you either a machine-to-machine version or a GUI interface where you can go in and set up the service the way that you need it to run. I think the industry as a whole has recognized the need for service orchestration. I will say the caveat that I would put out is even with the analysts in the industry, the big players in the industry, there doesn't seem to be consensus around what the term service orchestration really means. And I say that because I've had some analysts say, well, ETSI Manual, obviously, that's service orchestration. And we tend to generally agree with that definition. But yet we've heard other people referring to NFV configuration. Well, that's you're orchestrating. Or so I think that's one of the big challenges is although ETSI may be defining it, it doesn't seem like the industry is really grabbing hold of that and holding to those definitions. So I think that there's confusion in the industry at times about when somebody says they do orchestration, what does that really mean? And so when we say service orchestration, we're not just talking about orchestrating or configuring the infrastructure. We're talking about the full service lifecycle management, breathing life into VNFs, putting them together to deliver a real service.
That's a great point, because I was talking to a couple of analysts on this topic, and it did seem like the conversation kept kind of going back and forth between service orchestration and perhaps more network orchestration. And those, while perhaps similar vein, aren't really necessarily the same thing. And that's kind of what it sounds like you're saying, is that there is some confusion about the different orchestration aspects of this.
Definitely. There's no question. There's definitely confusion in the industry. And the challenge is when customers are going to find someone that does true service orchestration, there's noise in the industry. And so making sure that at the end of the day, they find what they're looking for. So if they're looking for network infrastructure configuration, there's a lot of companies that do that very well. That's not what we consider to be service orchestration. And there's a few companies in the world that actually do service orchestration and a fewer number that do it well. And so that's one of our challenges, is making sure that we get that story out there, because that's where we have spent a lot of our time and effort. And that's where we are finding a lot of our pickup and traction within the industry and with our customers is orchestration. Interesting.
Well, that's going to make my story that much more confusing to do then. So I appreciate that clarity there, because I'm sure as I'm writing it, I'm going to screw that up. But I will do what I can.
I'm more happy to help with clarification.
I might, yes, I'm doing it.
No bias.
I'm sure you guys will be just fine. So yeah, I'll have to make sure I'm as clear as I can be on that, to not add to the confusion. Well, that's going to be tricky. But well, then maybe the final question, then you kind of touched on it a little bit, a little bit of the challenges, I guess, going forward. What do you see challenges going forward, both from maybe Overture's point of view, and also, I guess, just the general industry point of view, as we're moving towards this virtualized environment for telecom operators? What sticks out as perhaps being one of the bigger challenges that need to be, I guess, overcome to kind of, I guess, keep that process moving along?
So I think there's a couple points to note. I think one is confusion around what NFV is really going to do and the use cases behind that. All of the Harmony partners that I've been visiting with and the analysts, everybody has ideas about what that's going to be able to deliver. What we're finding is the customers sometimes have their own opinion of what they're looking to do. And the whole concept around distributed NFV, where we're putting a COT server out at the edge and we're doing the service orchestration and all the smarts, if you will, are out at the edge, versus a centralized where a lot of the virtualization is taking place back in the data center or, the CO, and we have a light box out on the edge that does just a little bit. There almost seems to be this division within the industry. And I think the real key is for us, it's the openness of our architecture. We have within our POCs that we have going right now, we have multiple customers. Not one of them are doing the exact same thing in the exact same way for the exact same reason. What we find is that there are different customers that we have using different parts pieces of our overall solution to fit their needs. Some are using the orchestration, most are. Some aren't. Some are using our hosting platform, the Overture 65 ETSI. Some are using our Carrier Ethernet VNF, and some are using some parts and some aren't using, but one or two. So what I find is the customers still don't really know what they want. Meaning, NFV sounds good, but how can I leverage that? And so we have multiple customers who are looking to solve real problems, as I mentioned, by leveraging NFV, not just because it's NFV. So that's been eye-opening for us. So I think the key for the industry is really going to go back to the whole point of the Harmony system. What we've noticed as we've worked with all of these different partners in the industry, and as we've done the work to onboard all of their VNFs and gone through their packages, what we find is a lack of standardization on licensing models, go-to-market strategies, implementation strategies. If they have a new version of their VNF, what's their upgrade path look like? And the reboot, and we're all over the place as an industry. And that's just the reality of where we are. I think it'll get solved through time, but where we are as an industry right now is everybody's kind of off doing their own thing, which fits their model best, which is great for each individual company. But from Overture, we're taking an umbrella view of we have to understand all of this, because at the end of the day, to orchestrate a service, we need to understand the licensing model of all of the VNFs that we're going to be involved with. We have to understand the upgrade path that they provide. We have to understand their whole go-to-market strategy. And the comforting thing, if anything, is that we're not alone. I mean, everybody that I've talked to, we're all facing the same struggles, because this is all new, and it's new for everybody. And so we've spent the past 6 or 8 months in customer trials learning along with customers of what the expectations, the performances can be, what some of those limitations are, and at Overture, how we solve those. And so that, I think, if we can continue to collaborate, I really think that's the answer. We share where we are, what we're learning, and it's the openness of the whole NFV movement that's going to make that possible. As soon as you close down what you're doing or how you're doing things, you close the door on that collaboration, which I think is the biggest impediment that we can come across.